Welcome to the Scoop, Road Order. Happy Monday. Cavs Celtics are tipping off. We're going to go for about an hour and let you guys watch the remainder of that game. We are going to get into some of Michigan's downfall. Wow, did they strike out bad in the transfer portal this round? Some guys that we thought would be filling in for them are not making the trip to Ann Arbor, picking schools like Illinois. We're going to get into that, along with some of the other disaster stuff that we've uncovered over the last week or so. Yeah, it's always fun to kind of revel in their misery. And I think it's going to be a rough offseason and in-season for the Michigan Wolverines. Additionally, the team is back. Off-season workouts are presuming today. So these guys are running off some of their tequila and some of their partying they've been doing, I'm sure, over the last couple of weeks. But everything's different now with remote schooling. So these guys are living the good life. But Mickey has his hands on them, and he's turning up in the weight room right now, which is great. The coaches are out on the road. Seeing all the prospects that they need that they're begging to come to camp to get evaluations on and begging for official visits. So there's a varying scale. We're going to get into that. We're going to take your super chats as well. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and fire up those super chats. Again, those go to our Pay It Forward Foundation. So very excited about that. With that being said, as always, we appreciate you guys taking care of our veterans. As always, we appreciate all of you, especially any of you veterans that are mothers. I hope you guys had a especially happy Mother's Day, along with our first responders, police officers, everyone of the like, firefighters. We appreciate all that you do for our community and for our country. So please stand up for your country and take care of the veterans. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like on the episode. Those are huge for us. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every night. We go about 7 a night, and we try to go early versus these Cavs games, but we're just going to go at 7 because I think that's what you guys are used to. You have the Cavs on in the background. We completely understand. But we appreciate you guys always being here with us. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. And take care of our sponsors. We're adding a bunch of new sponsors. Twin Peaks and Buffalo Wild Wings are both officially Buckeye Scoop sponsors. So visit both, patronize both. There's 3 Twin Peaks in Ohio. There's a ton of Buffalo Wild Wings, obviously, across the country. So take care of them. Stop in, have some food, consider getting carry out from them. Again, they're both great partners of Buckeye Scoop. They will both be hosting Buckeye Scoop meetups. So it's going to get exciting. Really excited about the partnerships with both of them. We appreciate them greatly, and they are huge Buckeye supporters. So again, consider stopping there when you guys need to grab some food or watch a game out and about. With that being said, going to bring in my good friend Nevada. Nevada, it's always fun to revel in Michigan's misery. They're up against it right now. Again, it's such a stark contrast from last year, when really the last 2 years where I've bemoaned the fact that they've gotten very good centers in the portal. They got Drake Nugent last year. The year before, they got the kid from Virginia that was he ended up winning the Remington Award for the top center in the country. They also got Ladarius Henderson last year from Arizona State, who ended up being first team All Big Ten for them his 1 year at Michigan. So this year, with 5 returning or 5 new spots on the O-line and a lot of vacancies across the entire depth chart, they are striking out left and right on the transfer portal. I think that their NIL game is really, really poor. I also think that the looming sanctions is something that agents are steering their clients, aka the kids in the portal, away from. What say you?
Well, I just say that, I mean, look, it's been bad, and when we try to take kind of an analytical look at what's been going on with Michigan and comparing their success in the transfer portal, this year compared to the previous years, coming off a national championship, you would expect them to to be very prolific. They have a great deal of success in the transfer portal. A lot of people jumping on board. A lot of people wanted to be kind of part of it, and it's just been one disaster after another. One miss, guys that are sure things, recruits that were sure things, everything. And the latest one was Terrence Brooks, who would have been probably CB2 for them. He goes to Illinois. So it's been crazy how bad it's been for Michigan, but it keeps getting worse, and it doesn't seem like any help's on the horizon. As you mentioned, they've been really successful in terms of getting guys out of the portal, guys that were big time contributors for them, a big part of their success the last couple of years, and now, that's not happening. So you've got a roster that's been depleted, you've got a coaching staff that's been depleted, and one way places that you can go for immediate help is the transfer portal, and there That isn't happening. So for Michigan, kind of we talked about the dream season and the dream off season that Ohio State has had, since the Cotton Bowl, and how everything's just been going so right. And now this has just been an absolute nightmare, um, disaster. But it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Seems to just be getting worse. And I mean, I'm all about it because I can't stand Michigan, but I just didn't think it could get this bad, and it just took another level down to the basement. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're getting a lot of negative feedback on their NIL program. I mean, you do not see them going out and getting big time superstars. Well, for a team that is the defending national champions with the brand and the prestige that Michigan has, again, I hate Michigan as much as anybody, but you can't deny they've always been a national recruiting power. They have a global brand, and they're whiffing to schools like Illinois, which are literally the opposite. I mean, Illinois is not a global brand, not a national power, and frankly, you're destined to go 6-6 when you sign up to transfer there over Michigan. So, again, I think that it's interesting. I think that the talent drain from both the roster, from a player standpoint, and even more importantly, the coaching standpoint, has been the biggest in the history of college football. I've never seen anything like it. Especially with a championship team, you'd think that you'd be replenishing and kids from the portal would be dying to come back and dying to be a part of a program that seems to be on the up and up. But I think that that's not reality at this point, and I think that that's the thing that's it's fun for us because we're the opposite. This is the best offseason in the history of Ohio State football, and I don't even think there's any time even close. The only thing that's even close is when we hired Urban Meyer. That's it. But in terms of the amount of star power we've added to our roster. The way that we've kept kids out of the NFL draft, the way that we've kept kids out of the transfer portal, and then adding Chip Kelly and Tim Drevno and some of the ancillary parts of the program, this has been stunningly good for Ohio State. And I think that this team is hungry. I think that these guys are spicy. I think these guys are ready to roll. And I think that when you have a bunch of guys that had a lot of money on the line if they would have wanted to declare and be first or second round picks, and they came back. The main reason is to beat Michigan, because obviously if you beat Michigan, then you get the momentum going into the Big Ten title game, you get the momentum going into the playoffs, and then you can roll up into an avalanche and run through the playoffs. And again, I think that this has been a masterful job by Ryan Day to keep that roster intact. And again, big credit to the foundation because, again, a lot of these kids are getting little bonuses. And again, this is one of the interesting things about college football now versus the olden days. Like a guy like Mayan Williams, and again, I'm not going to beat down Mayan Williams for a very, very poor decision to leave and go to the NFL draft. Like if Mayan Williams would have stuck around this year, he would have gotten a very, very nice check to stay, play for Ohio State, potentially be that third running back, which again, maybe he wasn't interested in. But right now, he's completely on the street. Like he did not sign an NFL deal anywhere. He did not get invited to a rookie minicamp that I know of. I think he's still actually hurt. So that is like insanity that someone allowed him to do that or advised him to do that, or he had in his head that he should do that. And I feel terrible for the kid, but that kid could have stuck around a program that's going to be incredible this year, and he would have made a ton of money doing it, money that he'll never see in the NFL because, he wasn't an NFL guy to begin with. Then he got hurt, and then he couldn't work out. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see if the Mayan Williams tale is something that keeps guys in school. Because again, there's a lot of these guys that are like Mayan could have helped us this year. He could have helped us as that third guy. Now it looks like it's going to have to be James Peoples being the third guy. Guys liked Mayan. He was a good locker room guy. And I think that guys that are like, on that fringe of being drafted, maybe on their best day of all time, they'd be a fifth round pick. On their worst day, they're completely undrafted and completely unsigned. It keeps guys on the roster. And again, I was a guy that sunk like a rock, hurt my knee, sunk to the seventh round. Like, dude, when you're a seventh rounder, man, it is hard. Every day you see seventh rounders get cut in the NFL, especially in training camp. If you're a fifth rounder, fourth rounder, almost guaranteed to make the roster, unless you're just the worst player of all time. So there's a big delta between the two spots. And if you're not sure, and also if you're not sure, you better stay. And Mayan, I feel horrible for him, and I'm sure he'll probably be around the program a little bit as he's like rehabbing or whatever, but he should still be on the roster. And it would make me it's hard to do this with roster management and scholarships and high schools, but like make an exception for a handful of kids each year for each team that declare to be able to come back. Now, I think that would have to be something that like both sides would have to agree upon. But in the NBA, kids can opt into the draft and then they can opt back to school. I think that'd have been a great thing for a guy like mine because I just feel bad for a guy who's like basically a man without a home at this point because he made a poor decision. Nevada, as we're rolling through, this is kind of recruiting season. This is the start of summer conditioning. The coaches are out on the road. We had a big visit weekend this weekend. What are you looking forward to hearing about the most as the players are back on campus and Mickey Marotti gets to put the screws to them in summer conditioning?
Well, I mean, again, we've got a lot going on right now with Ohio State, but I do want to make one more point about NIL. Can you imagine? I mean, you've seen how successful Ohio State's NIL program has been with just by the appeal to kind of the boosters, the appeal to the wealthy alumni and the other people that are around the program, and in terms of doing the right things that they need to do. Can you imagine what that would have netted Ohio State had Ohio State just come off a national championship? I mean, it would be insane. And then you contrast that to Michigan's situation where, like, their NIL program's a disaster, and their NIL program they're not getting anybody, they're not keeping anybody, they're not doing anything with it, and it's all it's not all because of NIL, but that's part of it, and it just shows you. I mean, if that's as good as it gets coming off a national championship season, what's it going to be like when they're 8-4, when they're 7-5, when Sharon Moore's fired? I mean, it's gonna go from bad to worse, and I mean that's crazy. But back to Ohio State for a second. Look, I think we've got some kids that could be committing at any time. Vernell Brown's got it's probably going to be a Final Four list or something that's going to come out tomorrow night. From a conditioning standpoint, you've got all the quarterbacks back in camp. You've got all the offensive linemen back around. It's going to be interesting to see what Chip Kelly's been. I mean, Chip Kelly's been busy, dialing up. We've talked about the two running back stuff, but there's some interesting things that he's doing in the passing game concepts that I know we're going to have a nugget on later on this week. Just to see kind of how he's been spending his time and how he kind of implements that, because he's going to need Brian Hartline's kind of buy-in, cooperation on a lot of the stuff that they're doing with that. And I'm assuming he'll get that, but it's going to be fun to watch how that gets implemented. And, I think there's going to be, I won't say it's wholesale changes to what they're doing from a passing game, but it's going to be different. It's going to involve different concepts, different depths, different timing. I know that Chip has a lot of things he likes to run that we haven't run before or haven't run a lot. So I'm interested in seeing that, because the Chip Kelly experience, I know what we're going to get from Knowles, and I know how exciting that's going to be. But the Chip Kelly implementation of the offense in 2024, I think it's going to be just a master class. I think we're going to be going to school every week in terms of watching the install, watching it happen in real time, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think with Chip, it's going to be fantastic. And I think that, from a player's perspective, when a guy like Chip Kelly comes in, now you've got like a real, it's one of the things that's kind of fun for Ryan Day when he switches out and brings in Chip Kelly is now you have like a real offensive coordinator that you have to impress. So I think that everybody kind of starts back at square one when you're either an offensive lineman or a quarterback or a receiver, because now you got to impress the new boss, because the new boss is the guy who he has the authority. Obviously, Ryan Day is the ultimate authority, but I'm sure that he gave Chip a level of autonomy where, Chip has to say, hey, why is this guy playing, or maybe this backup guy should be playing more, or this guy is developing. And I think that sharpens players, because it's not just old hat. It's not like, oh, hey, it's the same old offensive coordinator, the same old everything. There's been like some very positive change, because it's not just Chip, it's Carlos Loughlin as well. So I think that room gets a good surge of energy from a guy that I love listening to him talk, and I love hearing about his grind and how, this is a guy that was like, literally he was, like a prison guard, security guard. He was doing some crazy stuff like 6-7 years ago. And now he's, a Division I running backs coach. So this guy fought for everything. This is a guy who's hungry. He's a guy that he was turned down by a Division III school in Tennessee where he wanted to volunteer and work, obviously work for free. The coach said that he didn't have enough experience, so he just kept showing up to places. And finally, Memphis said, "Hey, we'll let you volunteer, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. We'll give you a shirt and a pair of shorts, and that's it. You don't get any money." And the dude, took the bull by the horns and ran with it. And again, that's the thing about a lot of industries, especially coaching. You're going to be working for free. Like I always joke, like when I was a GA, I made 17 grand my 2 years each. So you're not eating. And again, now I was in the NFL, so it's a little bit different. But I'm just saying, like when you're making that little money, I mean, you're doing it because you want to be an apprentice, you want to learn the trade, and you want to impress somebody that'll hire you on for a full-time gig. So again, I loved doing it. It wasn't always fun because you're just working miserably long hours, but it was rewarding because you learned so much football, especially when I worked for Urban. It was like every day was an absolute masterclass. It was going to, it was like working with Steve Jobs and learning how to build products. Like when he was this visionary at Apple, he drove people crazy because he was nuts, and that's a lot of Urban Meyer was the Steve Jobs of college football. He's the same guy. I mean, he drove everybody nuts, very hard on everybody. But at the end of the day, like when he made the iPhone or whatever, the iPod, like you're just like, wow, this guy's an absolute genius. Like when he changed how recruiting was done, when he upped the aggression level, and again, that really ticked off everyone in the Big Ten when he showed up and he's saying, hey, just because he's committed, I'm going to recruit him even harder. I'm going to go after him even harder. Like Brett Bielema was ready to have a heart attack. He left and went to Arkansas after Urban showed up, and I loved that, and that's something that I think that Ryan Day is developing into. Again, he was handed the keys to Ohio State as a very, very young coach, and that's it could go one of two ways. And he's done a good job. I don't think he's done a great job because he hasn't beaten Michigan in the last 3 years, but he's developing into a great coach. And I think that having his mentor here and someone that he trusts more than anybody in the world, Chip Kelly, is only going to amplify his growth as a college football coach. And again, I'm excited. When we hired Chip Kelly, it's probably the most excited I've ever been outside of the day I got offered a scholarship at Ohio State or beat Michigan, because I just think that he's going to be that great for Ohio State, for our offense, but for especially Ryan Day. Because again, I know what it's like to have a football coach as a mentor. My high school coach is like my dad. I asked him every hard question in my life. He's the only guy I wanted to talk to after I lost the Florida and LSU games. He's the only guy I wanted to talk to. I called him and it was miserable, but it's like, that's what it's like for Ryan to have Chip there now. And I think that's going to be great for Ohio State. I think it's going to be great for the building because, that's the guy that Ryan trusts. And I think Chip's here for the long haul, which makes it even better. Because again, the hard part about when you hire these coordinators is sometimes they're 2 and out. Because, if you're at Ohio State, man, and you turn up and you kill it, then every athletic director in the country, it's like Tom Herman was like, one of the ultimates. He was every school in the, and everyone in the country wanted him. And he went to Houston for a couple years, proved he could be a head coach. And then he's at Texas, which is one of the top 3 jobs in the country year over year. So I'm excited about the trajectory of the program. I'm excited about Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles. Nevada, am I off base on anything that I said?
Well, no, and that's the beauty of having a guy like Knowles is that Knowles is he's going to be a career defensive coordinator. I mean, he's a guy that's content to be there. There were rumors about him at the Duke job, and I've been told there was nothing really to that. And with Chip, I don't think Chip's rushing to be a head coach again. I don't think Chip wants to do it, and that's rare. I mean, as you mentioned, even with Saban would get these great guys, but they'd be kind of like one and done type of situations or 2 and done and out there, and now you're moving guys around there. But Ryan's kind of finagled it where he's got Jim Knowles, who could pretty much be the defensive coordinator of Ohio State for the rest of his career, doesn't really have NFL aspirations, could be here for a very, very long time. And with Chip, I mean, it could be a lot longer than people think. And that in and of itself is kind of doing the magic. And I just want to see Ryan Day coach a season unencumbered from the difficulties of having to call plays. will it make the rotations better? Will it make our clock management decisions better? Will does everything run smoother? Will the feelings be different? And I think they will. I think it's going to be palpable, and I can't wait to see that. That just is another element that's going to make 2024 so exciting because we've never seen that with Ryan Day. Ryan Day was a brand new, never been a head coach before, and he's been the play caller at Ohio State. And that's an incredible load for any one person to have. Nobody that I've ever known has ever done it. Urban Meyer never called a play here, and Ryan Day is trying to do that and be the guy. Really, really difficult to do. I think he's going to be a much better head coach as a result, and I can't wait to see it.
Totally agree. Before we get into we're gonna break down some film, gotta give a shout out to my girl. We got our girl Shelly Meyer representing Buckeye Scoop down in beautiful Siesta Key, Florida. She is rocking the Buckeye Scoop tank top that Kim rocks, Doreen rocks, all the girls rock. So Urban, she's gonna get a photo of Urban in his new Buckeye Scoop gear. So we appreciate the Meyer family rocking with Buckeye Scoop as always. Again, the greatest people in the world. She was walking the beach. She said, "Hey, I'm gonna take a selfie." She sent this. I was like, "Perfect. Appreciate you, my girl." I hope you are doing well. Let's get into some of our recruiting stuff. This is a kid, Henry Fanuku. I told you I was going to get his film down. Kid from Fort Worth, Texas, 4-star kid, recruited by everyone. This is a big dude, good looking kid. Visited, a lot of good vibes coming from Ohio State. Nevada, your thoughts on Henry? Again, we are recruiting the crap out of national linemen right now. And I think that Chip Kelly and Tim Drevno's experience on the West Coast with who they were going after has kind of morphed into a giant blob with the people that Justin Fry, Mike Solini, Mark Piantoni, and Ryan Day were after. And you kind of have this little bit of a melting pot. But I think that, Ohio State is, it's always been a national brand, but I think it's just grown with how proficient they've been. Year over year, they're good. And again, I think that the fall of Alabama has been huge for us. I think that kind of the mercurial moving around of some of the coaches here, Clemson's kind of taken a step back. Florida is very questionable with their coach. I mean, that's the thing is like some of these kids are thinking of committing to Florida. I'm like, well, you probably are not going to know who your head coach is going to be because that guy they got there is about to get canned. But what are your thoughts on the national offensive line approach, Nevada?
Well, I characterize it as it's interesting though. One of the things you notice this isn't a national line approach that's being spearheaded strictly by Justin Fry. This is a national line approach that's being spearheaded by every coach on the staff. I mean, this is kind of an all hands on deck. A lot of people are going out and making the offers, and I think that you're recognizing a decided strategic change on Ohio State's part in terms of casting this wider net. But it's not just Fry; it's the whole staff, and I think that's very interesting. And I think a guy like Finoku's a guy that that could be the result of that. I mean, they're going around the United States in terms of doing it. They've got him in there. There's a lot of stuff that they like about him. We've talked about them having at least 2 interior linemen in this class. It's going to be a sizable class, but there's going to be at least 2 interior linemen. And I think he's going to be the next one. And I think he could be a commitment in relatively short time. It could happen at any point. Ohio State feels like they closed the deal, and I expect him to be part of this class and shortly.
Yeah, and I think he loses his helmet here, so I can see why his coach made this the first play of the highlights. So he's playing left guard here. So this is actually a rare guy that we're taking that plays guard in high school that we're projecting to guard. Because usually, if you're the best guy on your team, you're playing tackle in high school, and we usually kick guys into guard. But here it looks like, this is obviously hands to the face. This guy's got a double hand to the face, and he knocks his bonnet off. So you see the bonnet go flying off. His helmet's on the ground, and he literally drives him and puts him on his back with no helmet on. So again, that is awesome. And again, I'm sure, if you want to make a lineman or any player angry, get your hands up in their face, like under their chin, and take the helmet off. Like that's a good way to infuriate somebody. And he was not playing here. So he body slams this cat into the ground. And that's the one that you want to start the old highlight film with. So yeah. here, this is a play we run all the time. This counter play, another pancake. So yeah, I like it so far. I think that this guy's got a lot to him. And again, this is the kind of guy that you want light. 55 is vacant with Matt being gone. Granted, he's got one more year, but I like the kid. I think he's got a lot of ability. And again, the thing that I've noticed, I've watched a lot of these films, is that we are taking guys that finish plays. Like we aren't just taking big slugs that like play until they feel like taking a breather. We're taking big dudes, and these guys are finishers, and there he is getting to the second level, putting another guy on the ground. And this is Texas ball. This is better than some of the stuff that I've had to have to watch before, but he's a powerful dude, man. I mean, when he strikes guys, it is not fun. I mean, they're getting pulverized. So again, these are the kind of guys I like. I mean, he's light on his feet, he's quick. That's a good switch on the twist right there. So yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see how he is in some of the pass pro. You know, I'm sure that most of the guys he goes against aren't going to be the quality he's going to see at Ohio State, and that's always the thing that is the best part about some of these bigger camps and really like the All-Star game practices. It's a good time for these kids to actually see similar level talent, because that's the deal is you got to evaluate these kids. They're not always playing Big Ten level competition. Now he's killing this kid here, but a lot of times the first time that you actually play that level of competition is when you play in an All-Star game. So the big ones are obviously Under Armour. There's the All-American Bowl, which used to be the Army All-American game. I still call it the Army All-American game because I thought it was better when it was that. And then there's various regional bowl games that some of the smaller players might play in. But I played in the Big 33, which used to be an All-Star game that was Ohio versus Pennsylvania, and it was awesome to get ready for Ohio State. And back in the old days when I was coming onto campus, like kids from Ohio would play in. There was a June game, the North South game, which still exists. I'm sure a lot of you guys that are around high school football in Ohio have heard of the North South game. And then in July, you played the Big 33. The Big 33 is out in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and those were great because you're going against real dudes. Like I mean, I had to block Ray Edwards, who was a third round pick, signed for like 40 million in the league. Sean Crable, obviously you guys all know Sean. Brandon Maupin was a Ohio State kid. David Patterson was an Ohio State kid. Reggie Smith was an Ohio State kid. So that's like the first time you're playing nothing but like good players, as opposed to, in high school, you got to play whoever's, from the local towns or local areas. And I think that that's critical. But yeah, I like this kid's film a lot. I can see what Chip Kelly likes in him and Justin. So any thoughts, Nevada? Because I think this kid's going to end up being a take and he's going to be a Buckeye. But your thoughts?
Yeah, just rare to see an interior lineman. And you pointed out. I mean, I'm trying to think about the last time I remember that happening. Like normally they're always tackles. They're always going out there, and then you project them into center, or you project them into guard, or whatever you're doing. But I kind of like it. I think it's kind of I think this guy's on the interior. There's certain guys that have that interior lineman mentality, and he's clearly a guy that has that abundance. And you know, maybe that helps out. Maybe you lose a little bit of finesse, you gain a little bit of toughness, and certainly the Buckeyes getting tougher is never a bad thing for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree on it. So yeah, I think this is going to be he's going to be a really good player. And again, I think that those are the kind of guys you want to work with, these kids that are kind of hyper athletic, because it just makes your life easier when guys can get there. I thought this was funny because I called him a 4-star, but On Three has him as a 4-star. Every site for some reason has him as a 3-star. I'd say this kid's a minimum 4-star. I mean, I don't know what these guys are watching, but again, I think he's got good chops. He obviously the coaches like him. SC's on him. We're on him. Ole Miss, who has as much money as anybody in the game, is on him. So I think this kid's got major ability. I think he's a 4-star, and I'm sure once he comes to Ohio State, he'll become a 4-star. So we can start digging into some super chats now. Patriot, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. For the troops, prayers for our men and women in uniform. Yes, as always, we pray for them, especially the mothers that were not able to be home, that were abroad yesterday. We are thinking about you. We do not forget you. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's a great sacrifice that our military people do. A Euclid, Ohio officer was killed in the line of duty this weekend. Prayers for his family. Yes, and prayers for all fallen officers as well, because I'm not going to get on the political stump, but it's never been harder to be a police officer than it is right now. With the amount of insanity that is going on in this country, keep our officers in your prayers because it's tough, and I think that it's a sad state of affairs that we don't protect our officers more than we do from some of the vile people that roam at the streets. Nevada Patriot says for the troops, prayers for our men and women in uniform. He also mentions that an officer was fallen in the line of duty this weekend in Euclid, Ohio. Your thoughts?
Yeah, just tragic. It's tragic. Look, it's tragic when anybody dies, but when somebody dies, I mean, doing a job. I mean, basically, you're doing your job. You're paid to do a job, and you die. I mean, it's just not something that you really bake into the cake that's something that's even possible in today's world. But for cops, they face that every single day. So God bless them and rest his soul and prayers to his family.
I totally agree. Thank you, Patriot. Andre Duke, thank you for the 5. What's up, guys? Love the show. And what to call it now? North Dakota State wins in Boulder. See, that is a sneaky game. And I was noticing when I was doing some of the pre-show stuff that they're naming a lot of these kickoff times. But North Dakota State is no joke. And again, that's the kind of team, a team like Colorado, they'll sleepwalk into, they'll show up, they'll see the jersey, they'll see the name. Most of those guys won't know where the state is, and they'll just be like, yeah, North Dakota State. But North Dakota State is always a problem. They're nasty. They play hard. They're the best team in their division year in and year out. So, and they'll be exceptionally fired up to play in Boulder. So that's not a fun one. That's not a team that I would want on the schedule. Even with Ohio State, I mean, we struggled with Youngstown State for a hot minute last year. And North Dakota State is, I mean, they're a major cut above a Youngstown State. Your thoughts on that, Nevada? That's very interesting. Andre asks, he says he loves the show, and he wants to call it that North Dakota State will win in Boulder versus Coach Prime.
Yeah, I mean that's not crazy talk. It's definitely a game to watch. I mean, that's certainly they've cranked out a lot of NFL players, been kind of terrors at lower level, and a big signature game for them. And then you've got a team like Colorado that I think is fraudulent. I think Coach Prime's fraudulent as a coach, not as a player. Great player, but as a coach, I think he's a fraud, and that wouldn't shock me at all. Another early season game, Fresno State, Michigan. Um, I'm telling you, keep an eye on that one too. I think that's going to be kind of my motto: is fading Michigan the whole year. But there's certain games I think Fresno State's pretty good, and I think Fresno State's better than people think, and that could be a surprise as well. So I like some early season football is the best because you just never know what you're getting. It's like Christmas where you open the presents and you're never quite sure what's under there. But yeah, so much excitement, and especially in this year with an expanded playoff where everybody's kind of potentially got a path to a playoff where before they really didn't. Before it would be really 2 teams or 4 teams, and you pretty much knew who they'd be with maybe a couple of exceptions. This year, man, there's going to be so many teams. You're going to be watching them all, and I'm excited about it. So, but North Dakota State, yeah, definitely a definitely upset alert for sure.
Totally agree. Larry Daniels, thank you for the question. Appreciate you, man. Any thoughts on or scoop as to why the Bucks had never made an offer to Luke Lachey, Jim Lachey's son? Could they portal him? Well, that was one of those. It was unfortunate. I feel like that Jim Tressel would have figured out a way to get Luke Lachey on the roster. That was one of those weird ones where I remember it like it was yesterday. They worked out Joe Royer and they worked out Luke Lachey side by side. Every drill, Kevin Wilson was running it with Ryan Day, and it was tough. I mean, Jim was there. I mean, obviously it was it was basically a 1-day tryout where the best guy would get the offer at the end of camp. That was how they built it. So it was a head-to-head slugfest. They did blocking drills side by side. They did the one-on-one pass receiving stuff one after another with quarterbacks and linebackers covering them. It was an interesting day because I thought that Joe Royer was better that day. He was better that day. Ohio State decided he was better that day. But obviously, Luke Lachey has turned into an All-American level tight end at Iowa. Obviously, he had a terrible injury, but he's going to be a captain this year. He'll be a preseason All Big Ten tight end. And it's tough. I mean, it's easy to go back to revisionist history where, obviously a guy turns out one way. And again, if my kid's a tight end, like I'd send him to Iowa over Ohio State any day of the week. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it's like, go look at the tight ends they've put in the league the last 15 years and look at the ones we've put in. I mean, you want to go draft your fantasy football team. You want TJ Hawkinson, you want George Kittle, you want Sam Laporta, who was a Pro Bowl rookie last year. I mean, it's even going back to Dallas Clark, like even their lower mid tier tight ends that go mid round, they're so productive guys the last 8 to 10 years because of the offense they run, how they coach them. So again, their offense sucks at everything, but their tight end it's like this beacon of light across the rest of the team. Their tight ends have just been incredible. And Luke's going to be next. He's going to probably be going the first 3 or 4 rounds next year if he runs well. And he'll play a long time in the league because he can do everything. There's still a spot for guys like him. Where if he was here, I don't know. I mean, I'd take Kirk Ferentz to coach him over the guy that's coaching the guys at Ohio State, but that's just me. But I think that what Iowa's done with Titans has been crazy. So it worked out for both sides. The unfortunate part to the whole scenario is that we'll never know how good Joe Royer could have been because he suffered a horrific tragedy where his mom passed away. And she had I believe she had cancer. So like the last 2 years, like he hasn't especially the year where she was kind of declining in health and ultimately succumbed to the disease. Like it was. You can't expect the kid to be right mentally when he knows his mom's got like only a little bit of time left to live. So we never got to see like the real Joe Royer. And I think that, him being able to go to Cincinnati and hopefully get a fresh start. And I hope he kills it down there because he's a great kid, and a kid that, I think everybody had really high hopes for, but it's not really fair to Kevin Wilson or to Ryan Day to judge it off that because you can't project that some sort of unspeakable tragedy is going to happen to the kid. And he's going to, he took a lot of time off, rightfully so, because he was grieving. So I feel terrible. Again, I lost my dad when I was 12. So I know I wasn't all that well for a year or two afterwards. So, I wish nothing but the best for Joe Royer. I thought that he was the better guy that day. And again, it's sad, but Luke Lachey is going to be a stud in the NFL. Jim Lachey is one of the greatest gentlemen in Ohio State history. He's like an Archie Griffin type guy. He's never been anything but amazing to me. So I'm very happy that his son is having a productive, great career out at Iowa. And I wish that he would have been a Buckeye, but hey, it's worked out great for him in the end. Nevada, your thoughts, Larry Daniels, any thoughts or scoop on why the Bucs never been offered to Jim Lachey's son? Could they portal him?
Yeah, I mean, you covered it really good. I mean, look, there was a fair competition those days. They, like you said, they built it as such. They put those two kids side by side, and Joe was just better. I mean, he was just better, and that's just the way it was. But that's just kind of the way that went down. Now obviously Luke is a captain and team leader on Iowa, so I think the chances of him leaving are very remote. So I think that's a classic situation where everything worked out best for both parties. But I mean, that was where Ohio State really did, examine it with care, and it turned out wrong, but it wasn't the wrong decision because everybody that was there thought that Joe was better. Now, while we're talking about guys that Ohio State picked and guys that didn't,
Hang on, I already got the graphic ready. You ready? Boom.
You're going. It's called Antoine Winfield Jr. And now this is one where I was screaming at Ohio State to offer this kid, and they just wouldn't. Just would not. You've got the list. I don't have it right in front of me, Kirk, of the guys that they chose over Antoine Winfield Jr. in that DB class, but it wasn't a real distinguished group of players. And now Antoine's making $24 million a year in the NFL. That was a miss, and that was a bad one because that's a kid they should never. But you cannot miss on a legacy local kid that's dying to go to the Buckeyes that has that kind of ability. Terrible miss by Ohio State, and that one still pains me.
All right, we took Rajay Burns, Jocelyn Went, Wayne Davis, Trey Avery, And we also took Jordan Fuller. So Jordan Fuller obviously was a grand slam home run. He's been fantastic. But the other four, I mean, I don't know. Like again, like I go back to, and again, no one's gonna say that Jim Tressel's recruiting was better than Ryan Day or Urban Meyer's, just because we weren't as national. We were like a little mom and pop shop versus like a Walmart. The operation they're in now, but like Jim Tressel would have taken Luke Lachey and Antoine Winfield. He would have figured out a way to get both of them in the class, and I would have bet a large sum of money that's how it would have went down. Because like guys like that, they were not getting out, especially guys that are from the state of Ohio, grew up as Buckeyes, dads were legends. Like I mean, I've seen that movie before. Tress has figured out a way to get Antoine Winfield Jr. in the class, and again, that's a guy that he would take some guys that he really liked and some guys that were locals or Ohio kids and. And again, our star ratings were probably never as high because we didn't, star gaze like we do now, where everything's about how many stars can we accumulate. But this is a kid that obviously it was probably the biggest miss of the Urban Meyer, Mark Pantoni era. When you figure out this kid's a 4-year, $84 million. He's the highest paid DB in the entire National Football League, and he's a safety. So that's the crazy thing. Normally, the corners are the guys that get paid because they got to play man to man versus Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams and God knows who, Tyreek Hill. The safeties are usually the guys that are kind of the back burner guys. But 4 years, $84 million for a safety is very, very pricey. But this guy's a captain. This guy is got a Hall of Fame trajectory, which is the crazy thing is this guy could make the Hall of Fame. And his old man isn't in the Hall of Fame, which is double crazy. So I don't know. I mean, I'm happy for the kid. He's from Akron Garfield, for God's sakes, and boy got paid. But God, he would have looked good in the scarlet and gray. I mean, that's like one of those ones you can just imagine because his old man was one of the best football players in school history, and was a nasty, tough dude. He was a guy that was a different cat. So kudos for him. Kudos to his family, and props to Minnesota Golden Gopher Antoine Winfield Jr. That pains me to say that out loud. I got a couple more super chats. Donald and Karen Rosbeck, thank you for the 20. 740, and Michigan still sucks. Give me some hate towards Michigan, Nevada. We all want to hear it. Notice they said Nevada, not me, Nevada, so you can feed that false narrative. Nevada OH.
I-O.
Go ahead, Nevada. Spew your hate.
Well, I know what a fan you are of Michigan and how much you respect those guys and love them. But for me, I don't respect people that cheat. And there used to be a tiny part of me that had respect for them when they went out there and they did their thing and they played and they talked about how hard the game was played. But it was a clean game. It was a fair game. It was an honest game. And they've gone away from that. They've kind of sold their soul. They're a corrupt program. They're the poster child for lack of institutional control. Whatever you think of when you think of LOIC, this is what's going on there at Michigan. It's a program that's completely out of control, and a program that needs to be dealt with. They need to be dealt with by higher authority, whether it be the Big Ten, whether it be the NCAA, whether it be the Big Ten and the NCAA. But they can't have enough bad things happen to them. I love the fact that they're in purgatory now, that they're in this ceiling of 9-3 this year, and forever looking forward to seasons of 7-5 football. Love it. That makes me happy, and I can't stand them. So now you can go on and talk about how they're worthy opponents, and you love the uniforms. You grew up wearing that little helmet with the urine stains on it and stuff like that. But that's not for me.
You think I wore the winged helmet? That's hilarious.
I think you dreamed about you told me that. You've told me that in the pre-show. You said you dreamed.
Wolverines.
You dreamed of wearing the helmet with the urine on it, and I'm like, man, I don't even understand who you are. I can't believe you have a tree.
Oh God, man, it is funny. I loved beating those guys so much. It was great. But I was like, I'm the opposite of you. Like you're someone I like studying my enemies more than I like just like ignoring them, because I like to see what makes them tick. And I mean, I used to study the crap out of Michigan, man. I used to watch I'd watch their film like incessantly. I loved watching the film of their games. Like to study, to restudy. Especially like I loved watching the DNs because I always want to see, and I'd watch their offensive line too because it always get me a little angry. But I watched their defense like I knew it like the back of my hand every year. Because again, I think it's better to know your enemy than just to be ahead in the clouds and whatever. But that's just what I was. I always wanted to make sure that we were doing better than them. We were working harder than them. We had more edge to us than them. Again, that's why I told Urban like when he showed up, and Vrabel said this too, and so especially it was really Luke. I said, look, we don't use any of these blue markers. Like we don't. I'd always open the marker pens up and put them in the whiteboard. We throw the blue ones away. And Urban, like his head was like kaboom. He's like, you guys really do that? It's that hardcore. I'm like, yeah, that's how it is. That's why we've won like 9 out of the last 10 because we don't wear blue. We don't wear blue to functions. We don't have blue pens. We don't have blue paper. Like there's no blue anywhere, and like he like loved that. So that's why he was great. And that's why he got the rivalry. And that's why I beat him 7-0 or beat him every time he coached against him because again, that might seem like a little thing, but it's a bunch of little things that add up to make it into something that's real big. And we understood the rivalry, and that was it was always fun. Ben G, thank you for the 10. Thank you for being an ultra member. Appreciate you. New staff is dumpy looking. Is this having an effect on recruiting along with sanctions, etc.? Hashtag cheap heat. Does cheap heat need to be on the next scoop drop t-shirts where I had massive? Because like I love saying cheap heat. I say it all the time because it's like people say like dumb stuff just to get like some little buzz or some whatever. I think that the staff, I don't think that it's just dumpy. I just think that they're just not very talented. Like there isn't a single guy there that looks like he wants to be there. Like Wink Martindale taking that job, they had to pay him a fortune for him to come. But that dude's been in the NFL for so long. Now that he has to go out and recruit and drive to Boca Raton High School and do that whole dance. Like he's probably absolutely miserable. And then he's not going to have NFL level players because that defense is going to fall off. And it is interesting that they think that he's going to be an upgrade over the last two guys. And I'm like, well, there's no way he's going to be an upgrade because he's going to actually have to call the defense like holistically. Like he's not going to have like the cheat code of someone saying, hey, it's a run to the right. Hey, it's a run to the right. Oh, okay, well, blitz off the right edge. Oh, wow, you really know what you're doing. You really got their signals. You're really good at it. Like that's not going to be the case anymore. So there's no way it's going to be better than these last two guys. On top of the fact the defense just flat out isn't as talented as it's been. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this all goes down, but we'll see. Nevada, your thoughts. Benji bringing the heat, saying that the new Michigan staff is dumpy looking. Is that having an effect on recruiting along with the sanctions, etc.? Hashtag cheap heat.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely not not an attractive group for sure. But I think you hit on the head. It's kind of like it's like a hodgepodge. Like I contrast that to what we talked about earlier about having Chip Kelly and having Jim Knowles and guys with experience and guys that could be there for a while in these positions, kind of career coordinator type of situation. And with Michigan, it's like a hodgepodge of guys all thrown together, some from the NFLs, all of them with very limited experience, all of them new at Michigan. And look, winning at the college football level is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would come in and just be a coach and get paid $10 million a year and win. But it's not easy. And so to have an entire new staff, inexperienced at the college level, just thrown together, I just think it's a recipe for disaster. And when you combine that with the massive types of losses they've had on the recruiting trail, on the portaling trail, and to the NFL draft, I just think it's going to like I've said this before, but if they win, everything that I know about college football is a lie. Everything that I've learned through my decades of watching college football is a lie because coaching doesn't matter, experience doesn't matter, key positions don't matter, cohesion doesn't matter, continuity doesn't matter. None of that matters if Michigan wins this year. So I like my chances. I trust in my views on this, and yeah, not only is the Michigan staff unattractive, but I think it's going to be a bad staff. But the only good thing is it's going to be a very different staff over the next year or two, because I tell you, he's going to burn through half of them next year, and then he'll burn through the other half the following year after that, and then he'll be gone after that. So, don't get too used to these guys because they're all going to be gone.
I completely agree. Ohio 7715, thank you for the 20. Shout out to the family in the chat. I want to welcome all of the people in the chat. We were all new to the chat once. Let's welcome them with open arms. If they are trolls, we will zap them. 24-25 Natty Lock. Nevada OH. That is some sage wisdom from one of our Hall of Famers, Devin, Ohio 7715, a Scoop Ultra member, a Wrench brother. Appreciate you, my friend, as always. Yeah, I agree. I think that everybody should get a free shot to see who they are. I know that there's a lot of college football fans that watch the show. It's not just Ohio State fans. We have fans from every school, including Michigan. And again, I want to remind you guys that like something that really jump-started this program was the Michigan scandal, because we were, Nevada was breaking everything because of the sources that he has that was inside what was going on. And man, we had a ton of Michigan people watching. And again, as long as they're, they play nice in the sandbox, like I'm fine with them. Again, I don't like them, but if they like to watch our show, like God bless it. It makes the show better because we have more people. So, who knows? Like I said, I know Michigan people, they aren't all terrible. But I think that's very good wisdom from you, Devin. Again, I think that everybody should, try to get to know each other. It doesn't mean you have to like them. But that's just my opinion. So, and maybe I'm crazy. You guys can say I'm crazy. That's completely fine too. Nevada, your thoughts. Devin, Ohio 7715. And again, thank you for the 20, Devin. It's very generous of you. Shout out to the family in the chat. I want to welcome all the new people in the chat. We were all new to the chat. Let's welcome them with open arms. If they're trolls, we will zap them. 24-25 Natty Lock. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I like having people with different perspectives, as long as they're polite and non-trolly. They come on. We've got the logical Wolverine. I don't remember exactly what his handle is, but I look forward to his posts. I mean, I like hearing from people that have different points of view, and I hope we have as many of those as possible, as long as they're polite and they know it's our house, and they come in and it's like you're going over to your neighbor's house. You don't go in there and just kick your feet off or shoes off and lay down on the thing, take off your shirt and start drinking beer on the couch. You show a little manners, and if they do that, hey, I love them being here, and I'm excited to have them.
I totally agree. Andre Duke, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Deacon Hill, the Iowa QB, has entered the transfer portal. He's 6'3", 260. Maybe a little Burke Carton coaching and a Culver's on and he could be a backup. That is a big quarterback. 6'3", 260. That is a big old boy. Nevada, I don't know if we need another quarterback, especially one that can't play at Iowa. But that's a good thought from Andre. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've got a pretty crowded quarterback room right now.
Yeah.
I mean, what, 5 QBs right now, and I mean, one thing I did want to talk about is you've got the advent of helmet communications this year, and so the fact that our quarterbacks are going to get to operate with Chip Kelly directly in their ear is amazing. I mean, amazing. Again, and we've never seen that before. We've never experienced it, so we don't know how good it's going to be because it's never happened before. But I know it's going to be good. And any concerns we have about quarterbacks having the right place or knowing what the right thing is to do or whatever it is, they're going to be able to talk to Chip Kelly in real time as he's talking to breaking stuff down before they go into their play sequence. And I just think that's amazing, and I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic, and it'll be a huge ad for what we do. Donald and Karen Rosbeck, thank you for the 5. Ooh, I like this idea. We need a Buckeye. Oh, thank you for being Ultra members. Well, we need a Buckeye Scoop shirt that has Cujo's eyes as the O's. Scoop with raccoon eyes. SC, raccoon eye, double raccoon eyes, then a P. Nevada OH. I think people in the chat would go crazy for some Cujo gear. I mean, even if we just put like one where it's got like like a caricature raccoon head or something, because Cujo is kind of like our unofficial mascot because he's in Devin's avatar. But that would be absolutely hilarious. I think that'd be the ultimate of inside jokes. So we'll see if we can get that designed. And if anybody wants to take a crack at designing it and sending me a logo for that, have at it. Because with AI, you can basically do anything now. So, and again, it has to. I think the hardest part about like when you're doing an animal, especially like for Devin and Cujo, is it has to look like the actual raccoon that you're doing it after. Because like I've tried to do a German Shepherd, one that looks like my dog Joseph, but like none of the caricatures look like him, or none of the AI models look like him. They don't look anything close to him. So it kind of loses like the authenticity of it. So again, if someone knows how to do it, it actually looks like the real Cujo, like Devin's Cujo. I think that'd be absolutely hilarious. And we can start throwing it in our next drop, which we don't know when that's going to be. We're running some tests on the store today, so we will see. Good. Well, Nevada.
Now, hold on. Well, we're talking about eyes on it. I just sent you a text. I'm going to just tell. You have your little Wayback Machine. Well, I'm going to take you back to my little Wayback Machine. Owned a baseball team in Lake Elsinore, California, called the Lake Elsinore Storm, and we were trying to come up with a logo for that because, like, minor league baseball, you're always looking for some nice logos and stuff like that. And I'm going through all these different designs, and I had some No Fear stuff. And No Fear used to have like
I'm telling you, like I was like, is that like a No Fear hit? Now this is grainy because Nevada sent it from his Nintendo, but so this looks a little grainy here. But I mean is that your logo? Did No Fear jack your logo?
No, that is our logo that we put on our and the premise of this was because the storm. It's the eye of the storm. Kind of get it? Eye of the storm.
I see. You see that? I got you.
Eyes. So we did that. We put on largest selling hat in the history of minor league baseball, and that is a Nevadabuck creation done over a weekend where I set out that weekend to come up with a hat design because it was a storm. So you got to come up with like what's a storm? You like clouds or whatever you do. That hat, the eyes. When you mentioned Cujo's eyes, Scoop eyes. I was like, I got to bring up my eyes thing because that was a good one. That one I will pat myself on the back on because that was a good one.
Did No Fear do their logo before you or after you?
No, I jacked it from No Fear.
Okay, good. As long as you jacked it from them, then it's fine because nobody remembers No Fear. At this point,
how about this? I say they inspired me. How about that? I used them as a launch point. I was inspired by the No Fear eyes and did it. But yes, they were before me, and we tried to make enough differences in it when we did the copyright and everything to not run afoul of No Fear, and we did. But incredibly successful. Like I said, for New Era, like the most successful minor league baseball hat of all time, But like I said, I literally set out over a weekend. I'm like, I'm going to come up with a hat logo, and that's what I came out with. So there you go. That's my story. Back out of the Wayback Machine. Now back. Cavs are only down 5. Man, they're hanging in there. They're battling.
It's 2. Your boy Garland just had a 3. It's 55 to 53 right now. So hey, you called it.
Oh wow. Let's go.
It's a tight one. So with that being said, any final thoughts as we wrap this show up?
No, I think we've got some imminent commitments coming out. So be on commitment watch. If you're a BuckeyeScoop.com fan, be on commitment watch. I think we've got some commitments that are coming. Keep an eye for them.
All right. That sounds absolutely perfect. With that being said, as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this show. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys for everything you guys do. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Again, keep on cranking on those likes. Those are huge. In the comments, who do you want to see Ohio State get in the next commitments? Because I think Jimmy French is still very much alive for Ohio State. A lot of good news around a lot of the recruiting. And this is going to be a huge 3-month stretch for recruiting. So make sure you sign up for BuckeyeScoop.com. We have big time recruiting info on there, and we appreciate all of you guys that are on our message board each and every day because it is hyper active right now, and we appreciate that. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Be ready to rock. Go Bucks.